Dr. Kirk Gray, who is a physical therapist at Tallahassee Memorial Rehabilitation Center. He's also an adjunct professor at Florida A&M University School of Wildlife Howell. He's been working with patients and families with the neurological disorders and dementia since 1986, with a focus on maximizing function and promoting safety in the home. So please welcome Dr. Kirk Gray.
Thank you, guys. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I have a mom with Alzheimer's disease, and I wish I could tell you that I'm the one who takes care of her all the time, and I know what it's like to live with somebody with Alzheimer's, but I'm the sibling who goes and visits on the weekend. I'm not the one who has to live with it, but I know a little bit about the challenges that you guys encounter daily. My mother, when she came to stay with me up here, I really thought I was going to have her live in the house with me, but my mom is a wanderer. Anybody else have a wanderer? And I had to put double locked doors on all the house, and she took a chair and threw it through the window so she could get out. So, so unfortunately, it didn't work out quite the way I needed to. I wanted to start with this. I just read this, preparing for this. Anybody ever read something by Greg O'Brien? All right, he's a reporter who has Alzheimer's disease, and he's able to be clear enough to write about himself. Now, it's a lot longer. I'm only going to read one paragraph of it. But it was kind of an interesting thought on what people with Alzheimer's go through. And this is him. I was up again at 4 a.m. the other night, one of 5 nocturnal ramblings in the early morning that are not new to me. I didn't have any sleep, and then picking my way in the dark of the familiar territory in the home in Cape Cod, where I've lived for 34 years, I fumbled into the bathroom, and then I felt the numbness creep up the back of my neck. Like a penetrating fog, slowly inching to the front of my mind. It was as if a light in my brain had been shut off. I was overcome by darkness and not knowing where I was and who I was. So I reached for the cell phone that substitutes as a flashlight, and I called my own house. My wife, deep asleep and in our bed just 20 feet away, rose like Lazarus from the grave to grab the phone in angst, fearing that one of the children had been in a car crash or a death of an extended family member. But it was just me. I was lost in the bathroom. How awful, how frightening. So, I, again, don't know a lot about having to live with somebody with Alzheimer's disease. My sister is the one who really does all the work. This is my sister Teresa back here. But I do know a lot about home safety, and I go and evaluate people's homes. Gosh, have we done it? This is Io. She's an intern. She's been with me for 8 weeks. Have we gone to somebody's house in 8 weeks? I was going to say we do. I probably go to somebody's house at least every 6 weeks or so. So let's go on here. Home safety. Oh, these are just the objectives. Home safety is a big challenge. People always perceive home as their safe place, but in fact, there's a lot of little hidden hazards in the house. Actually, it's pretty doggone dangerous. People fall pretty often. People have household emergencies. It says here from this stat that I found that 10 to 25% of falls result in serious physical injuries. But in the state of Florida, falls are the #1 cause of accidental death. More than car accidents, more than almost anything else. It's a very, very big challenge. Excuse me. It's a very big challenge. And there's a lot of hidden dangers in the household. So looking at the house as you walk through and doing a room-by-room analysis can make a big difference in the safety of somebody. In the house, things such as phone safety. In the case of my mother, she was exploited a fair amount on the telephone. People would call, and she'd give money to almost everybody in the world. It was much to my dad's chagrin. Suddenly everybody is calling asking for more money. Now my dad grumped about money all the time anyway, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But she was exploited without a doubt. At one point, well, several times, we had given her a cell phone so that if she walked as she did in the neighborhood that she had lived for 50 years, if she got lost, she could just call and get some help. But then she started giving the phone to people. Somebody said, "Can I borrow your phone?" And she'd have the phone, and pretty soon, next thing you know, the phone's in Orlando. So it is a big challenge for people with exploitation. Again, with different kinds of needs. My mother wasn't all of these things, but fire safety, making sure that there are smoke alarms and making sure that there are fire extinguishers in the house when necessary. Entry, I already talked about having double-keyed doors in my house. Again, another worthwhile thing, when I was trying to have my mother in the house with us, I also had to put a double-keyed lock on my son's door and my door, just because there were things in there that might have been a little bit hazardous. Electrical safety, simple things like covering lights, covering plugs makes a big difference for safety. And then certainly there are toxins within the house all the time. Medicines, anything over the counter, like even just aspirin, can be fatal. Take enough of that. So it's a very valuable thing to start paying attention to. And then probably where I'm going to talk a lot is on fall safety, because again, that's the number one cause of death in the state of Florida. And it's an interesting thing. How many people in here have throw rugs in their house? Every woman probably has a throw, and every man that's married to a woman has a throw rug in the house. Women love throw. I don't know why it is, but I feel like such a hypocrite, because every house I go into, I say, okay, got to pick up these throw rugs, because they're like one of the biggest trip hazards in a house. But they're kind of lovable. So looking outside, things like making sure as people enter a house, and at the end I have a check sheet so that you can go through your own house. Looking for things on the outside such as visible steps and handrails. It's rare. Even in my own house, I don't have a handrail up my steps. How many people have a handrail up their steps? One. Out of all these people, or just people not participating? Two. Three. Yeah, just install.
Back step only.
Yeah, it's a common thing to not have one. And like my step into the carport where I get out most of the time, it's kind of a hazardous thing. The steps are a little bit sharp, and the screen door opens up, and it's tangly. So it is important to start looking for those things, looking for trip hazards. Tools hanging around. I'm kind of a clean fanatic with tools, but I've seen them in people's houses. Tools on the ground when you're working on something. A hose being drawn across the driveway so that you can do it. Another trip hazard. Pool safety. Imagine the gentleman who's writing about getting lost in the bathroom. What happens if you forget how to swim and you jump in the pool or fall in the pool or trip? It can be a devastating thing. Certainly things like grills can be, but even more dangerous are things like fire starters, simple little flammable liquids. Is there enough lighting outside? You're going to hear this theme over and over again. When you stand up and walk in the dark, have you ever noticed how much harder it is? You walk a little wider step, you're a little more cautious. It only becomes more exaggerated in people with Alzheimer's. It only becomes more exaggerated with age. And then clutter. On the outside, looking at bushes. If there's a bush that sticks out a little bit, it creates a trip hazard. So simple things. And remember I talked about exploitation. We had people walk up to the door of my parents' house, and my mother would let them right in. Actually, I guess there was one time when she let some people in that probably risked my parents' life, and fortunately we had neighbors who were able to help out. All right. In the kitchen, another place, day-to-day tools are kind of dangerous. Putting child-proof door latches on there makes a big difference. My neighbor across the street has Alzheimer's, and she came out the front door the other day, and she had put her hand in a blender. And fortunately, nothing but a bunch of scratches. But she just didn't know what she was dealing with and put her hand right in a blender. But household cleaning products, knives, scissors, again, drugs, a lot of people keep them in the kitchen. A junk drawer. I don't know about y'all. I got a junk drawer. It's got screwdrivers, things in there. Definitely a pair of scissors, something else that could be a sharp. I got a box cutter in there. That's a nice, good thing to get hurt on. Stove safety knobs. Again, some way to minimize the opportunity for burns. If you got a gas stove, especially, you can get a big flame coming out. So these are the things that you sort of need to walk through and look around. Night lights, simple things like that. And then artificial fruits can be a danger thing. What if you have a choking hazard there and eating something without even knowing what you're dealing with? And then consider disconnecting the garbage disposal, just as the blender I talked about. Okay, in the bedroom, probably the single biggest thing, because this is where people get up most of the time, is a nightlight. Just a simple way to make sure that you've minimized the amount of likelihood of falling. Using a simple monitoring device, excuse me, dealing with that cold everybody's been dealing with. Using a simple monitoring device just to make sure you know when people are out of bed. How about portable space heaters? They are a burn hazard, if not a trip hazard too, because of the cord. Being cautious when using electric blankets, fall prevention. Again, those using mats and/or removing throw rugs. Again, probably one of the biggest challenges in a house, as I've said. All right, in the bathroom. Do you want your family member alone in that bathroom? Are they going to be safe? Are they going to lock the door and so that you can't get in if you need to get in to assist? Are there non-skid strips on there? Again, those throw rugs. A raised toilet seat simply as a tool for getting out of a chair easier. The higher it is, the less force it takes just to get up, just to stand up. A shower chair, safer just for showering. A handheld shower so that you don't have to work so hard to find spots for yourself to clean yourself. Water heaters. At 120 degrees, if you're in a shower, that's plenty hot, but it won't cause a scalding burn. You start setting them a little higher and they cause the opportunity for injury. And then medicines again and cleaning products. And back to those night lights. Excuse me. All righty. In the living room, another place, people spend a lot of time in their living room. Electrical cords in areas from where people walk. Most places, if you go through a house, you'll see that people have a table lamp where there's a cord that's at least partially exposed. At my house, I've got a couch that kind of goes along, and the cord is underneath the couch, but occasionally it'll creep out. The dog will grab it or something like that, creating an opportunity for trip hazards. Sliding glass doors. Who's done that before? Run into a glass door. Not only can they wake you up pretty fast, but if you should break them or knock them off the tracks, it could be pretty dangerous as well. Matches, cigarette lighters, remote controls in a place where they don't disappear. Okay.
What do you use decals for?
You put them. Thank you. You put them on the sliding glass doors so that they're visible. Okay. Used to be that was much more common. You'd see like a little butterfly or something like that. I haven't seen those in a little while. But that would probably be a worthwhile thing just to minimize falls or minimize walking right into the glass. All right, the laundry room is another place where we frequently have a lot of chemicals. Bleach is a big challenge in most laundry rooms. And even though I can't imagine anybody drinking bleach and not knowing what they're doing, I can't imagine you getting into trouble and then not knowing about it until it's too late. Soaps, same idea. Taking some of the really large knobs off the washer and dryer. In preparation for this talk, I read about somebody who wanted to heat a cup of coffee, and they put it in their dryer. Yeah, not a huge deal, but it certainly wasn't the cleanest thing to do. And then putting other things in the dryer. Maybe one place I saw somebody wanted to, they had some business cards, and the business cards were dirty, so they put them all in the washing machine. Again, not a huge, giant hazard, but it certainly is something to look at as find a way to minimize some of the risks in your house. Garages and sheds, another place where there's a lot of opportunities for injuries. In here is a bicycle. My neighbor, again, who had her hand in the blender, unfortunately, she could still ride a bike pretty well, and she got on the bike and drove off, and so we had to find her. So, okay. Toxic materials, again, in there, and frequently sheds are dark. They almost never are lit in there. So keeping things clear of clutter and debris makes a big difference. My shed, just even trying to get into it, you got to walk underneath a bunch of bushes and trees and things. Again, it's a hazard for falling. Okay, but falls can be minimized and prevented. Looking for those things, just as I described, and then maybe even having a healthcare professional come and take a look at the house. As I work to discharge people from the rehab center where I work, if there's any question, we'll go and visit the house just to go and take a look and see what's going on. I'll take photos of their house and make recommendations so that you can do some problem solving for yourself. And then being active makes a big difference. My mother, in the case of this, she was into Tai Chi. I would say that made her more functional for multiple years. She would exercise, and not only was it good exercise and good balance training, but there was a nice social aspect. And again, in the case of my mother, with a short-term memory deficit, but there's all of this in-the-moment memory, paying attention, so that things that she had learned forever, so there were core memories. So getting into it early makes a big difference. People enjoy it. It is a good tool for staying fit. Anybody in here doing Tai Chi? No? Okay. I don't even know what exists in Tallahassee. I'm sure there's Tai Chi here. So, yeah, it is a neat way to have some activity. Ma'am? Oh, okay. Say it loud in case somebody else is looking for it.
Thomasville Road and North Ride, there's a Tai Chi Center.
Mm-hmm. I go to work every day. I don't get. I don't hunt around for these things. So this is a quick assessment tool. This will just be some check sheets as you walk through a house, and then I'll test you and see how we did. But it's just a simple home assessment. As I walk into people's houses, enter the living room. What am I seeing? Is it accessible? What's the flooring like? What's the furniture like? What's the lights like? What are the seating like? Are people getting into really low chairs, which means they have to get out of really low chairs? I've gone into people's homes where there's something sticking up a little bit, like maybe the carpet has a little twist on it, or sometimes carpets that have those like you have maybe a hardwood floor, but then you have a pretty carpet in the middle, and it might stick up a whole bunch because it's got a bunch of cushions on it and everything. What an enormous trip hazard that can be. And certainly I've been in people's homes where the flooring is damaged, so there's a lot of trip hazards. Again, since we spend a lot of time there, that's a place where people fall a lot. And I'm concentrating on falls because that's how people get hurt. All right, the bedroom. Bedroom is a place where people often have a bunch of stuff. You know, can you walk in the door and not have a table right in the way? Does the door actually open all the way up, or is there a bunch of stuff stored behind the door? Can you get on and off the bed in a relatively clear fashion? Now I know whose house we went to. The house we went to while Io was with me, he had stuff pretty much everywhere. You almost couldn't access the bed. And then the things that were near the bed were quite often things you didn't really want to bump. You know, he had his CPAP machine close by, and if we knocked it off the table, then we'd have to reattach it, and plus you could damage it. So a lot of times people have trouble getting on and off the bed. Although at the same time, what is the communication skills like? If you need to call for help, what's available? All right, if you're in a separate room from your partner, your care partner, how can you reach them? Again, these alarms might make a good difference. In the case of this article that I read in the beginning, a telephone is a valuable tool. Again, what's the flooring look like? Furniture, storage, lighting, especially night lights. In the middle of the night when we all get up, it's a good tool for providing safety. Windows, are they openable? Or are they at least secure from being opened in the night? And then, are you able to reach and open up blinds and shades? This actually is everywhere in the house. A true fall hazard. When you want to open up a blind or a shade and then you have to reach over a whole bunch of stuff, you end up having an opportunity for injury that's worth avoiding if possible. Is the hallway got good lighting? Are they free of clutter? Again, a place where people put a lot of stuff. Is that area rug taped down or taken out? All right, bathroom, accessibility, toileting, bathing. I really do like, and I think that quite often people don't put chairs or benches in their bathroom. Everybody has one already? Does anybody not have a chair in there, like a shower chair or a tub chair? Okay, a couple. One of the things that's really kind of neat are some of these tub chairs that are a tub bench. You may have to Google that and look it up. But if you think of a bathtub, that step over is quite a risky step. And you can put grab rails on, which you should. But these tub benches are kind of cool. You sit down on the bench outside the tub, and slide over and pull your feet in. And a much safer way to bathe, and they're modestly priced. I think you can probably get one under $80, which I know isn't easy to pull out of your pocket, but it's better than a fall. The average fall in the United States is somewhere around, just a simple and visit, it's around $300. So it's worth it to deal with those things. What's the sink like? Are the faucets easy to use? Reinforcing that idea of keeping the temperature of the hot water heater relatively cool, 120 degrees or so. Is that medicine cabinet locked? And then a nightlight again. The idea of using a flashlight on this slide, unless it's really available and easy to turn on. Some of the motion sensor lights I kind of like. Okay. And then the hallways. Didn't I already talk about the hallway? Is it a double slide? All right. The hallways, are they open? Is that rug? I already talked about that one. Bed? There. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong button.
Let's go back.
Excuse me. All right. Stairs, are they in good repair? Are they safe? Are there handrails? Are the edges clearly visible? Especially bifocals or multifocal lenses. If you don't have a handrail, you can miss that step. Outdoors, walkways, is it safe? Is the doorbell easily heard? Is the doorbell in good shape? Because you certainly don't want to be the only person that hears that ring. You want to make sure that you're there at the door as well, as I talked about before, because of the potential for exploitation or safety concerns. Extension cords. Did I do that again? No, I didn't. Okay. Is the pillbox easy to read? Is it easy to make a mistake on them? These are the things we do look at. Are the ceilings and walls free of holes and peeling paint? Is there a smoke detector in good working order? Is it free of excess clutter? Animals, pet dishes. Another frequent trip hazard. I would say I see at least one every 6 months of somebody who tripped over the dog bowl and fell down and it had a broken bone. So here's some tests. What's wrong with this living room? Fortunately, it got marked on there. It was pretty nice and easy. But if you look here, look at that area rug. Okay, and that is a risky thing. And this isn't an unusual looking room. You got a telephone cord running through the room. Some clutter over here with the knitting, and that's not really that unusual. That's a pretty common picture. So if we look at it fixed up, you can see that just simple little changes, which cost nothing, increase the safety quite a bit. And again, I've been in a lot of houses, my house sometimes, that's not that unusual. All right, here's a stairwell. It's a fairly common thing. A lot of stuff on the sides. Stairs are really not good places to store things. Notice no handrails on the walls. And it says poor lighting in this particular picture, but there's no way to tell with this exact slide. Am I going the right way? I'm going to have to be careful. So simple things to look at, minimizing some of the stuff on there. Handrails are a big deal. A bathroom. Looking at things like the throw rug. Boy, I talk about those a lot. Grab bars. Does everyone in this room have grab bars? Anyone in this room not have grab bars in their bathroom? Very modestly priced. Usually I have some, my partner, the physical therapist I work next to, he has a contractor he recommends, and I just steal his business cards when I need to recommend them. But I've noticed that at Lowe's, they'll even give you a contractor recommendation. A typical grab rail like this one here. How do I make there we go. A typical grab rail like that one there is a fairly modest thing. I think you can get one and install it for $80 or so. Again, considering a fall, that's a really worthwhile thing. And you really can't overdo them. Having one on the side. Now, I don't really like these ones that are attached to bathtubs if you can avoid them. I think that it'd be much better to have one just on the wall in the back there. Okay. Oop, there we go again. Another picture of a bedroom. And you can see we got that cord underneath there, bed sheets hanging off. This device is actually too far away from the bed to be helpful. And that's a common thing you'll see is somebody get up in the bed and then they stumble over to grab their assistive device if necessary. I think, no, it's a couple ways up here. All right, bringing some of those things close together, keeping the bed things just a little bit safer. Another bedroom with a little bit of crowding, a bad rug, some stuff on the floor. The tabletop is so crowded that you can't keep things on there. Excuse me. Everybody, this is my mom. Say hi to Janet. Hello there, Mom.
Love y'all.
Good.
All right. So we got a couple of little clutters in there. And then again, making the table tidy enough to where the telephone can be reachable, keeping that walker close by the house, close by the bed. I'm having a little trouble with this, aren't I? There we go. Tidied up a little. Moving the shoes out of the way that were in the middle of the room so that they're not giving you trouble. All right, in the kitchen. Here's those dog bowls that I was talking about there that are a challenge. Here's another throw rug. I talk about that too much, don't I? And then having things that are used often up high instead of having things that are used often down low to minimize the fall risks. Put the mixing bowls up there that you don't use very often up high, minimizing those risks of falls. That's what I have. Are there any questions? Thank you, guys. I appreciate knowing y'all. I hope I helped you some. Good luck, y'all.